Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on driving differentiation with data, hosted by Infor Burst and featuring our customer, CleanTelligent. My name's Brad Stillwell, Vice President, Analytic Product Strategy and Solution Consulting for Infor Burst, our premier OEM and embedded analytics platform, and I'm pleased to be your host for today's online event. Now, we've got a great event lined up for you today where we're going to walk you through why embedded analytics is so powerful, the value in differentiating on data, and how at Infor Burst, we take a very holistic approach with a true end-to-end analytics solution. You're going to hear from Caden Hutchins, President of CleanTelligent, an Infor Burst customer who is creating significant value for their customer with embedded analytics. They're dramatically improving customer churn, and they're really helping to set themselves apart in a very competitive landscape using embedded intelligence. And then we're going to see a live demonstration of what embedded analytics actually looks like with my good friend Dave Hintemeyer, who's Senior Solution Consultant here at Infor. And he's going to show us how you can offer tiered services to your customers, giving them a very rich ad hoc analysis capabilities with complete self-service, and then how you can use advanced automation to deploy analytics to all new customers at scale with just a couple of clicks. So with that, let's jump right in. So there's three things that we think are just so important to be successful in very competitive markets, especially in software as a service. And all three of these can be improved by embedding analytics directly into your solution. Now, the first is you need to be able to stand out. You have to be unique in the market, and data is a great way to separate yourself from the competition, to show them how your unique application can add value and differentiate on the data that you make available to them. Second, you need to be their single source. So what does that mean? You want to be the vendor that your customers come to for everything that they need, even if it might not be directly in your sweet spot. And that will make them kind of use your solution more, which is all about being sticky, right? You want your solution to be so ingrained in their day-to-day operations that it becomes almost impossible to replace. So when you become their single source for insights, you're no longer just a commodity service, you are actually their solution provider. And so why use embedded analytics to deliver insights versus just letting the customers do it themselves with their own tools that they already have in-house? Well, according to a study by the Aberdeen Group from 2019, embedded analytics, that is analytics that are accessed in context of the parent application, and they don't have to go somewhere else to get them, drives more adoption. So more people will actually use analytics if it's embedded in the application versus them having a standalone tool that they have to go use themselves. It also increases engagement with the solution. They will come back more frequently, and they will spend more time in your platform doing the analysis versus doing that in another tool. And it encourages much more self-service, which makes your solution more sticky, which, as we said, is one of the keys to making sure that your product is successful in the marketplace. And that can actually create a tremendous amount of value for your organization. The fact of the matter is that data differentiated companies outperform their competitors. They grow revenue faster, they acquire new customers faster, and they can turn data into dollars much, much faster. So if you think about what that could look like in practice of your solution, well, you could potentially boost customer satisfaction with a much richer real-time insight offering. So if you're creating a software to solve a specific business problem for your customers, well, you want to keep them happy, and you want to remove the need for them to go to somebody else to get information about the solution you're providing. So if you can bring that into your solution instead of exporting the data out, it just makes your solution more valuable and makes your customers more satisfied. You can also increase market share and competitive differentiation. So if you want to acquire new customers or even retain the customers that you already have, you need to offer them value-added analytics so that they can actually see the tangible business benefits that they're getting using your solution today, right? And then you can monetize that wealth of data that you've been collecting over time and create new revenue streams. So if your business is, again, selling software, you want to be able to make money from the unique data assets that you have. You want to monetize that data yourself instead of letting somebody else get the value from that analysis. So if you want to embed intelligence into your application to create more value for both your organization and your customers, what's the best approach to take? Do you build it yourself in-house, or do you buy a solution that specializes in embedded intelligence? Well, as you're going to hear from CleanTelligent, oftentimes buying a solution is better in the long run because it really allows you to stay focused on what you do best, but still provide industry-leading analytic capabilities to your customer. What that means is you can actually go live faster with more functionality and start generating value sooner and spend less time on the back end managing and maintaining the analytics solution. Plus, if you use a platform like Infor Burst, you benefit from literally decades of industry expertise and specialized software development for literally thousands and thousands of customers who've been able to differentiate on data in their platforms as well. So we don't just make great software, we know how to bring great data products to market, and you can share from that knowledge. So when considering embedded analytics, you need to look and kind of think beyond just the front end, not just what the customer sees, but the whole end-to-end life cycle. There's a lot more to delivering analytics at scale than just pretty visuals that you embed into a dashboard. Obviously, you want to brand your solution. And of course, you want a modern user experience that gives you full interactivity and is seamlessly embedded into your web application. But those are table stakes, quite honestly. There's so much more that people often don't think about on how you're going to develop, deploy, and maintain the solution at scale. And that's one thing that we really, really want to focus on. So if you really want to deliver repeatable, scalable, customized data as a service, here are some key capabilities that you're going to want to make sure are core to your embedded intelligence platform. And it goes way beyond just basic sharding. The first is multi-tenancy. You want to make sure that you're providing security and privacy around each of your individual's customers' data assets. So you want to be able to separate that data on the back end. And because Burst controls all of the data in an end-to-end solution, including data management, user security, provisioning, and everything in between, you can provide true multi-tenant solution to your customers, ensuring their data security and data privacy. Second, you've got to think about self-service. You don't want to have to build or think about every way that your customers are going to want to look at their data. So you want true self-service where the customer is empowered to build their own analytics on the fly. And with Burst, you absolutely have those capabilities. And then think about automation. You can have some manual steps in your product when you've got, say, 5 or 10 or maybe even 50 customers. But what if your solution's a huge success and now you have to scale it out to 5,000 customers or more? You need to be able to deploy that out to every customer with literally just a click of a button. You need to be able to push out updates, and you need to be able to unlock new features with powerful automation. And Burst gives you all of those KPIs, or gives you all those capabilities with very rich APIs. And then, as I mentioned, tiered offering, right? You need to be able to offer different levels of capabilities at different price points, depending on the needs of your customers. Maybe you start with a freemium solution, which just gives them basic analytics, all the way up to full customization, where they can completely customize their experience. And customization goes way beyond just the look and the feel and the branding, right? They need to be able to build their own analysis, create their own reports and dashboards, and even bring their own data. That is what will make your solution stand out and will make it really sticky in the market. So what you'll hear from CleanTelligent and see in the demonstration in just a minute is Infor Burst offers all of these great advanced capabilities in a single end-to-end platform that covers everything that you need, from data source connectivity to data modeling with advanced automation, all the front-end tools that you'll ever need for full ad hoc self-service, all delivered 100% as software as a service in the cloud with nothing to download and nothing to install. All you need is your data and Infor Burst to tackle any advanced embedded intelligence use case. So with that, you've heard our take on how embedded analytics can help you grow faster and differentiate yourself in the market on data, and why we think it is so important to partner with someone who can go beyond just charting and really help you deliver data as a service to your customers. But to really see the impact of being data-driven, it's always best to see a real live example. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our special guest today, Caden Hutchins, president of CleanTelligent. Caden is a passionate executive and a multiplier with a focus on spearheading operational improvements and strategic planning to deliver breakthrough growth for both CleanTelligent and his employees. Thanks for being with us today, Caden.
Thank you, Brad, for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to the conversation today. So just to set a little bit of context for those of us that are joining today, can you tell us a little bit about CleanTelligent and your role and vision for the company?
Absolutely. So CleanTelligent, we've been in business for almost 18 years. It'll be 18 years this summer. CleanTelligent was founded out of being a janitorial franchising company back in the 80s. In the early 2000s, a lot of the tech boom that had started then, our founders were very interested in trying to create and streamline communication tools for facility services as well as quality control. So that's kind of how we got started. We broke off from that company, and we're going strong today, managing facilities, communication, and quality assurance.
Awesome. Well, it's a great story that we're about to dive into, and I think what's kind of setting the expectations is, given what the role CleanTelligent plays in being in facility services and cleaning and things of that sort, you really can't talk about that without putting it in context of the global pandemic, right, that we've just been through. So maybe give us a little bit of a feel about how the pandemic has impacted your business in terms of, either changing business models or services.
For sure. I mean, for many of our customers, it was a massive increase in demand, especially for those that were servicing facilities that needed to stay open. Unfortunately, some of our customers, they lost a lot of their business portfolio if they were servicing a certain type of customer. But, for CleanTelligent, it really heightened the understanding of the need for data-driven cleaning. And that may seem weird. You're like, how do you have data-driven cleaning? Well, an entire business or organization, whether they're an in-house operations janitorial team or not, they have areas to be more productive, to be more concise in what they do. And particularly to prove what they're doing is keeping the facility safe. That's part of our vision and mission as a company. The reason why we're in business is to ensure the public health and safety of everyone who visits facilities is given the best chance and opportunity to be a top-notch service that they experience. So.
Yeah, that's incredible. And we're, super proud to be a partner in helping you support that vision, because that's so important to us as well. You kind of touched on a topic there that I want to double click in just a little bit more. So as you said, CleanTelligent solution plays a pretty vital role in helping janitorial service providers maintain that quality control and keep that open line of communication going with their customers. And you talked about why analytics is so important there. Can you shed a little bit of light around the issue with maybe client turnover that is prevalent in this industry and how analytics really can help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest problem in this industry is retention of our customers, right? It's one of those things that it is an old, outdated, mindset in this industry, but people believe that, the service provider that's servicing their facility, they're only as good as their last clean. And honestly, I hate that mentality and that mindset. You're not going to be perfect all the time, and it's not just what happened last night. It's how you've taken care of a customer over their lifetime, right? And so um, when it's just a visual of are things clean in a facility, have they been sanitized? I get where that phrase comes from. And really, what analytics plays into a role is to all of a sudden capture point A to point B, whether that's the last 6 months of your service or the last 6 years of your service, and how you as a company or as a janitorial team have been performing against production metrics of how quick you're responding to people, how on top of the work you are, how proactive you are against fighting infectious diseases, right? The pandemic proved that, how often are you going in cleaning the facility, and what are your quality control levels? What are the scores? Are they satisfactory? Are the clients happy? Are they not? All of these things help with the biggest problem that this industry faces, which is client turnover. And it's because they don't have let me back up. What the entire purpose of what data is to share the story of what's happening, right? And so if you don't have a way to share the story with your customer, like we do provide to our customers, there's no silver lining bullet that you could just pull out and say, like, look, here's what we've been doing, here's how we've been performing to help mitigate the client turnover that happens across the industry. So
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we talked about earlier was how important it is for services to be sticky. And, analytics is a huge way to help make your solution much more sticky. The fact that people come to you not just for the service, but they come to you for the insights around the service you provide and the justification for that service and the value that it's providing going forward.
absolutely. Yep.
So one of the things that we wanted to touch on a little bit is, where was that inflection point that you were at where you decided you really needed a better analytics solution? How was it maybe hurting your business that you didn't have it, or what was the feedback that you were getting from your customers that made you say we really need to double down on analytics?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I would say that the analytics that we had before Infor Burst was in-house. We kind of had our own dashboards and stuff. People wanted more customization, being able to manipulate the data to tell the right story that worked for their customized setup of their business model. And so what happened was we started researching embedded analytics partners out there. And really the role that played into it was that we needed a partner that could really deliver modern day tech when it comes to business intelligence and reporting, more than we ever could. We're not a business intelligence engine as a software, and so we decided to how do we as a SaaS company, how do we do also the platform as a service? How do we pull someone else in who can do something better? And really, that's kind of what played into that decision. We wanted something that was more powerful than we could ever attempt to justify to build, and we wanted to stick to what we knew best and what we built best. And so we decided to embed Burst Analytics. So
Absolutely. And one of the things that we talked about earlier was the fact that the whole build versus buy equation that people go through. And at the end of the day, what you realize with CleanTelligent is we want to be super good and super awesome in a specific area, and not try and be everything to all people. And so, in that instance, it's a great way to say, let's take somebody who really does analytics and does it well. So your team can focus your efforts on what you do really well.
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, one of the things I want to kind of double click in a little bit more is, kind of what were you looking for in the platform? You decided to partner with Infor Burst so that you could get those more powerful analytics. Can you really tell us what were the criteria that really helped you make that decision?
Yeah. we did quite a bit of research when we came down to choosing and vetting a partner for embedded analytics. And there was a lot of good things out there across multiple platforms, but really what fit our needs the best and the most was the ability to categorize and manage the separation of data for every single one of our customers. That managing that was a big concern. Having the hundreds of customers we do, how to make sure that they had their own space where they can analyze their own data, and Infor Burst was the best at that to enable us to make it controllable for our clients. And then because of that, also we're able to lock down certain features in Infor Burst that are some upsell opportunities for us, kind of creating like this base understanding of like what business intelligence is for a client, providing that to a single customer. But if a customer over here wanted like the self-service reporting with Visualizer, they can come in and that client can just have that added on to their account when they were ready to start playing with analytics more. And then we tore apart your guys' API in the sense of trying to automate everything on our end, where as soon as we create an account on our end, the automation of onboarding on the Burst side of things it's the click of a button. And that was a huge piece of it, because we ourselves have a lot of manual pieces when creating an account. And so to like add a whole nother manual process of getting them access to Burst would have been problematic if we didn't have the ability just to automate that. So that was another key differentiator. And then obviously just like modeling new data sources. Obviously we did not start with everything from the beginning. It's taken time to where we're at today. Just like modeling and integrating new data sources each time is pretty awesome. So
yeah, that's a great testament to what we kind of talk about, that there's so much more to doing analytics than just the visual. And in fact,
sure.
The dashboard, the report, the experience is a fraction of all the other stuff that needs to take place. And the fact that you can have that automation and the APIs and the data management, all those things behind the scenes really is what we believe allows you to go to market a lot faster without sacrificing on that end user experience that is still so important.
Yep.
Now, you've had embedded analytics in your service for some time now. How have these new capabilities improved your business in terms of either saving money or making money or creating more value for your customers?
Yeah, definitely on the value side for our customers. They were able to start experiencing something far better than what we ever provided them. And it's obviously a continual work in progress to continually bring in the data and the sources to manipulate the data to try and tell the story that they're trying to illustrate. I mean, obviously from an ROI perspective, like we're 100+% on that. We do charge for it as an add-on, but it was also strategic. We didn't come from the mindset of how do we make a ton of money off of embedding Infor Burst. It was how do we provide all of these analytics and data. And so really our entire mission that we set out on from the beginning was like we just want to recoup the cost, right, and the effort put into it. And so we strategically made that decision so that way we can keep costs extremely low for our customers across the board, but allow it enough to make it a worthwhile investment, obviously, for CleanTelligent. So that paid off, and it still does to this day. We can embed and have a client that gets access to Infor Burst analytics through our platform that they themselves would be obviously paying a lot much more money to get those kind of analytics outside of us. So it really was kind of like that trade-off of let's get the customers to absolutely utilize this data at the best price point that we could bring it to them. So it's a win-win. It was a win for CleanTelligent, but most importantly, it was a win for our customers. So
absolutely. And we love those kind of win-win stories. So not only are you creating value for your organization, you're creating value for your customers, and that makes your service and your solution, more valuable for them going forward. So I just
Yeah.
want to, one last question as it relates to the creation of value. How do you see your clients getting value from these analytics, and what feedback are you getting from them? Are they able to make better business decisions now?
No, those are great questions. Um, Excuse me. Obviously, it depends on the client. We still try and teach some of our customers the value behind it, but the ones that pick it up, the key differentiators do two main things. One is when they have like an executive business review with their customer, they bring the analytics to the meeting. They screenshot dashboards, or they go into the live data and they showcase what's happening. So that's a huge piece of it. And two, yes, that's like the sales fodder, continually retention of the client, like how awesome is this data, right? That's great. But most importantly, it's the power on the internal side. Every business should always try to be improving themselves, increasing their productivity, trying to help themselves save costs, right? Be efficient as possible, not be wasteful. And so there's that whole side of it as well, when maybe they don't use it as much on the sales side of things to their customers, but they improve their internal productivity. They understand their metrics. They know where they need to improve. They try and increase their response times. Again, these are valuable and incredibly important data-driven decisions that they can make as a business. Whereas before, I have no clue how long it took me to respond to that customer because it was a text message, or it was, and that's not just on the burst side. Obviously, that's CleanTelligent's piece, but it's your system is only good as the data out that can be provided back to the client, right? So CleanTelligent for years was just the constant data in, data in, data in, and the data out as far as showing and showcasing what happens over time and how you're improving as a business wasn't there. And so when we were able to do this, I would say that's the greatest and the best benefit as a company is being able to have a pulse in the moment of time on a singular inspection that's performed in a facility, and then all of a sudden going back out to the 30,000 foot view and saying, here's how we've done over the last decade, if they've been with us that long. So definitely that is the value it presents to them. And they win more business, and they retain, obviously, the two most important things that they're striving to achieve is growing their business and holding on to the business that they grew. So
absolutely. Well, I love this story of how CleanTelligent is really driving differentiation with data, and how you're not only becoming more data driven within your organization, but you're helping your customers become more data driven. And to us, that's just like music to our ears. So Caden, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story. We really appreciate you being here with us.
Hey, you're welcome. I really appreciate you guys reaching out and trusting CleanTelligent to share the story. So
awesome. So now what I want to do is change gears a little bit so that you can actually see what modern embedded analytics looks like in action with a live demonstration. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Dave Hintemeyer, Senior Solution Consultant for Applied Innovation at Infor. Over to you, Dave.
Thanks, Brad. I'm Dave Hintemeyer, Senior Solution Consultant with Infor Burst. And today I'm going to show an example of an OEM use case using Burst. Much like what CleanTelligent has done with Burst, I'm going to show you examples of how to create virtual tenants or burst spaces to easily manage separation of data across customers, how we can provide self-service reporting through Visualizer, how you can easily automate the onboarding of new clients using the Burst APIs, as well as creating tiering by turning on and off features through the Burst APIs, as well as an ease of integrating new data sources. I'm going to show you how National Foods, a fictitious company, created a tiered analytics offering using the Burst APIs. A tiered analytics approach can be a way to monetize your data and create new revenue streams for your business. So let's set the demo scene. National Foods provides tiered analytic products to their customers. I'm a business user for one of their clients called Infor Foods. National Foods provides tiered analytics products to their customers. I'm a business user for one of their clients called Infor Foods. Infor Foods has subscribed to the National Foods Basic Analytics package. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Here we're looking at a dashboard inside the Infor Foods web application. And again, this is the basic analytics package that they are subscribed to. I can see things like key performance indicators on the left side of the screen, and what my orders by order date and discount by order dates look like, and so on. I can filter the dashboard using embedded filters, such as selecting beverages. We'll see the dashboard update accordingly. And I can always remove that filter by clicking on the X in the breadcrumb trail. Likewise, I can drive interaction with the dashboard using the Burst APIs. So I can drive filtering from outside the dashboard itself. Using the Infor Foods web application, I can filter on categories such as beverages. I can further filter this by a product called Outback Lager. And we can clear those filters, again, by clicking on the X in the breadcrumb trail. I can even do visual filtering by dragging my mouse and creating a box around data points on a report. And Burst will handle the filtering for me. Now again, Infor Foods has subscribed to the basic analytics package. So they have a limited feature set. Looking at the actions I can take on a report, you'll see I only have a few choices to make. One, I can use a view selector and toggle this between a table and a column report with a click of a button. And I can export this report and also print a report, but fairly limited, again, because I have the basic analytics offering. National Foods also offers a premium analytics subscription for purchase. Let's use the Burst APIs to automate the creation of a new premium tenant for Infor Foods. We are now viewing the National Foods tenant provisioning portal. Here I can see by clicking on this button, it's going to call an API and it's going to list the customer tenants or spaces that I currently have. On the left side of the screen, this is where I can provision a new customer space. Behind the scenes, it will execute an API to create a new space for that customer, and then call another API to copy from a master template to the new customer space. So let's provision a new tenant using the premium subscription for Infor Foods. So I'm going to select a customer, Infor Foods. I'm going to select which analytics product that we want to create, and that is a premium analytics product. And I'm going to choose an orange color theme because all of this can be done using the Burst APIs behind the scenes. And now I'm going to click Provision New Customer Space. From here, let's take a look at what the new premium analytics product looks like that National Foods now has access to. All the features we saw with the basic analytics offering, but also includes enriched dashboard features, self-service, customization, and supplier data. Supplier data has been included by leveraging the Burst Network BI capabilities. Network BI allows for sharing of data via the Burst semantic layer to other spaces or tenants. In other words, no replication of data is needed as it can be shared through an analytical fabric. These premium features can easily be turned off and on via the Burst APIs, making a tiered approach extremely straightforward. Now let's take a look at premium features we have available to us. We can see at a glance we now have a units in stock by supplier report where I have visual clues and indicators of where I have low inventory by supplier and by product category. I also have more dashboard actions available to me. If you remember, in the basic subscription, I only had 3 options in here. Now I have several more to pick from. I can open this report in Visualizer, which is the Burst self-service tool where I can do further exploration of my data. I can also create notifications. I can set a schedule in which to receive this report, and it'll email that report to me on that schedule. I can also save this report as a new report and begin changing and manipulating that. I'm going to show how easy it is to build a brand new dashboard from scratch along with several reports. So we're starting with a blank dashboard, and let's give it a name. And I can use our insert menu to choose which items I'd like to add to this dashboard. I'm going to begin by adding a key performance indicator. Here we're inside our KPI builder, and I can expand the measures and choose, or I can simply type the name of it using our Google-like search, should I know the name of it. In this case, I want to do a count of orders. So we'll select order ID. Our aggregation is already set to count distinct. I would like to view this by order date, and I'll click Save. And we'll have this KPI in our dashboard. Next, I'm going to add a brand new report. So this will open up Visualizer with a blank canvas for me to begin creating a new analytical report. On the left-hand side, this is where we surface up our governed semantic layer to the end user. And the rights and permissions are all configurable within Burst. In this case, I'm an admin, so I can see everything. I can see all the folders containing the different attribution, and I can see all the measures. So for this report, I want to select unit price. So I'm going to use our type ahead. I will click on that. Burst will automatically add that to Canvas as a measure. And now I want to add order date. That's how I want to slice my unit price. Clicking order date will add it as a category. You'll see I have different options in my guided mode if I want to choose different reports, but I'm going to leave this as a column. Next, I'm going to add unit price again, except I'm going to do something a little different with it. I'm going to change the aggregation to average so I can see what my average unit price looks like. And I'm also going to change the chart type to spline and then merge the axes to look something like that. So let's save that and we'll add it to our dashboard. So Burst will take the new report and automatically place that on the dashboard. We can see it here. I can drag and drop these anywhere else I'd like to. And lastly, I want to add an existing report. So this opens our report catalog, and this will let me browse through the different reports I have access to. You'll see when I select one, it gives me a thumbnail preview. Here I'd like to view our revenue map. So I'll select it. And now I'll use our layout tool to arrange these on the dashboard for me. I don't have to do that. I can move these wherever I'd like. If I'm happy with this, I can click Publish. And we've created a new dashboard with several new reports in just a few clicks. So let's summarize what we've seen in this embedded Burst demonstration. Burst provides for a tiered analytics offering to your customer base. And that tiered analytics approach can be an avenue to monetize your data, create new revenue streams for your business, all the while being easily and quickly automated and managed. With that said, I'd like to thank you for your time and turn it back over to Brad Stillwell.
Well, thank you, Dave. Hopefully that demonstration gave you an idea of what's possible using modern end-to-end embedded analytics platform. I want to thank our special guest today, Caden Hutchins from CleanTelligent, for sharing their experience taking an advanced analytics product to market with Infor Burst. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Infor Burst or hear from other customers like CleanTelligent who are differentiating on data, I would encourage you to visit us online at infor.com/Burst OEM. Thank you again for your time today, and we look forward to helping you in your journey to monetizing data and becoming more data-driven. Have a great day. Thank you.